Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining me on this conversation. I am your host, Sandy Bastien, and this is Mompreneur Talks. For a long time, but I want to talk about it from a different angle. And that is, of course, why your purpose will reach more people than your product. Now, this is a conversation, or this is something that I wish I had known before. But I'm going to say this is a lot of things that you're learning on the journey, and you might be saying, I wish I had known this before. You wouldn't have known it before because you were not ready to know. There is a time to know certain things because when you know better, you have to do better, right? So I would not have done better with this information because I wouldn't have known what to do with it. When I started my journey as an entrepreneur, specifically when I launched my baby product company, Baba Lid, as you probably, if you watched my videos before, I invented a baby bottle that helps parents save the lids. So basically, the bottle that I designed and patented and manufactured, the lid can be snapped onto the bottom of the bottle. So you always have the lid and the bottle together. You never have to worry about losing the bottle, misplacing the bottle, and you never have to worry about the messy spills in your baby bag. So that's the product that I invented, I came up with. However, now going on, so I started developing the product back in 2020, but the idea came to me about 11 years ago, 2014, when I had my second child, and didn't know what to do with it, didn't know how to manufacture, didn't know anything about it, an engineer, didn't know anything about the process of getting a product developed. So it took me a while, not only because I didn't know, but I wasn't really ready. There was obviously a financial commitment that needed to be made. I wasn't ready to do all those things when the idea came to me, but I knew it was a problem that I wanted to solve. I knew it was a problem that the market had because you can buy a baby bottle and the same thing happens all the time. You lose the lids, and the only viable solution that existed before Baba Lid was that you had to buy a new bottle to replace the lid. And then if you lost those lids, you would have to buy. So it was like a repeated cycle of buying new bottles just to replace the lid. So when I started the company, when I started, selling the product after I manufactured it, it was about how do I reach the people who need this product, right? What am I saying to them? How am I getting them to say, yes, I want to buy this product? Because remember, there are thousands, hundreds of thousands of brands that are selling baby bottles on the market. And a lot of people, especially if you're not a first time parent, you're probably comfortable with the brand that you've been using. So now, what do I have to say other than that, you save the lids? I mean, there's some people you can get with that. Hey, yeah, I would love the bottle, but there are other aspects to the bottle that people buy into, right? There's the nipple, there's the shape, there's the quality, the material. All these things play a role in why someone buys a bottle. So I had to think about all the ways I had to position myself to get people to buy my bottle. And selling 1 or 2 bottles every other day and trying to get into retail, all of that requires work. Obviously, getting into retail is a lot more work than selling 1 bottle or 2 bottles. But it all required time and resource to learn how to position yourself on the market to get people to say yes. Honestly, for me, that was difficult. In the beginning, people were buying, people were talking about it. But then after a while, those things starts to die down. People start to realize, okay, yeah, it does that, but what else? They'll tell people about it, but I needed more because obviously I created this whole company that now has expenses and I gave up a lot to make it happen. How do I keep this going? How do I keep this momentum going while, I get to some market share, what they call like while I get market share? And for me, I honestly, not I didn't give up, but I realized that it was gonna cost me. It's gonna cost me a certain amount of money to get into retail. It's gonna cost me a certain amount of money to get mass production, right? So all these things cost money, and we put my husband and I, we put in everything, every penny we got, we put into this company. So there really wasn't much coming. we could put anymore. We needed investors. We needed people who are saying, "Hey, yeah, we want to partner with you. We want to fund your company." It wasn't really happening when we needed to happen. And like I said, I've been an entrepreneur for now 14 years now, and this is all I know for now because I pretty much gave up my job, gave up my career, primarily to raise my family, to raise my children, but also to bring in income, right? So this is what I know. And I had to figure out a way to make it work. And so when I started thinking about how do I make this big, and people started telling me, start selling this product, start selling formula dispensers, start selling pacifiers, start selling onesies. And I started doing that for a little bit, but I realized it wasn't my passion. I didn't want to do those things. I had no passion in creating more product or sourcing more product to put into the company. It wasn't my intention to start a whole company or brand. I just wanted to solve a problem. But I found myself with a company. And so with that, I had to say to myself, okay, I have these customers. How do I continue to serve my customers? Who are my customers? What is their real need? Other than the bottle, what is it that my customers need from me? That conversation I started having with myself, and I like to say that when you talk to yourself in this way, it's like you're talking to God because I started getting answers and they became more clear to me as to what I needed to do next. And I'll say this in short, the ideas that came to me is, Sandy, stop focusing on your product and start focusing on your purpose. And this is the reason why I wanted to share this video with you guys today. There are a lot of you guys who have great ideas. You're selling a great product. You have a great service. And at some point, you got stuck. You're like, okay, what's next? What do I do next? I'm going to encourage you, and hopefully I'm inspiring you and empowering you to tell you, before you start creating another service, another product, find out what your purpose is. What impact is your company, is your brand having on the people that you are servicing? This is where I started looking at myself and saying, Sandy, what else can I create that not only as a tool, but as something that speaks to your purpose and your passion? And that's when I decided I'm going to write a children's book. I wrote the children's book, Mommy's Invention Adventure. And basically with this book, I have been able to connect with so many schools, organizations, clubs, children clubs that want me to speak about my journey as an entrepreneur. In this process of doing all that, I'm doing two things. I'm empowering the parents, particularly moms, that listen, just because you're raising your children doesn't mean you give up on your dreams. You can raise your children and pursue your dreams. As a matter of fact, I encourage parents to do that because that way your children can see what it looks like to go after their dreams. That's one. The second thing that I realized focusing on my purpose has done for me is that it's given me a way to connect with children that I wanted to when I was a kid. Like when I talk about the story how I was not the best reader. I always performed at the lowest when it came to reading tests because I wasn't passionate about what I was reading. I created this platform called Reading is Eating. And with my children's books, I'm able to tell the children reading is as important as eating. The same way your body needs food to grow, your mind needs words to grow. And with my children's book, I'm able to tell them books help you discover words, discover ideas, discover people that you get to say, I understand them. I am like them. So I say all this to say that if you haven't already, start thinking about what your purpose is, because there is where your impact is. I have a masterclass coming up called The Purpose Shift. If you are interested in going deeper into shifting from selling your product to shifting to focusing on your purpose, I welcome you to join me on the next Purpose Shift Masterclass. You'll find the link in the bio or underneath in the comment section. I can't wait to connect with you so we can shift from focusing on just a product to focusing on our impact in the markets. I'm your host, Sandy Bastien, and I look forward to seeing you on the next video with Mompreneur Talks. Take care.